Hello, people. How's it going? Are you good? I hope you are because I'm kind of good. I'm good today. Although I woke up a little bit late. I Then I spent another half an hour because it's not very often. Actually, it's never happened before where Pickle usually sleeps on top of our my partner, but she never does it on top of me. And then this morning she did, and I just couldn't allow myself to move her away to get out of bed. So I had to actually start my because I've been doing classes remote for uni, and I actually had to I had to start the first class in bed on my phone, which is not a standard. I don't condone that kind of behavior, but I just could not, I just could not push Pickle away, and it was so adorable. And again, it was kind of like a nice way to start the day, especially that yesterday was a bit annoying because my stomach, my stress related stomach troubles have happened again yesterday. It's not really stomach, it's like it's bowels. It's such a nightmare. um and yesterday I was in so much pain and so much discomfort, and to to wake up to this today was actually quite nice. I'm pre-recording this, of course, so it's not Monday morning when I'm doing this. And I will let you know how me observing Yom Kippur for the first time doing the fasting it's been going. I'll tell you about it on the next episode. But yeah, that's happening over the weekend. I think I got a show tonight, and then I'm gonna do some more writing on Sunday, and hopefully record with another guest. That's not 100% confirmed, but yeah, I want to to go through my stuff and kind of like rewrite it and put it all together, because luckily I've got quite a few good shows coming up, and I want to make sure that I'm as prepared as possible. And yeah, I did a few shows this week, and it was just so nice, to kind of like get back and feel like a almost like in a full swing. That was pretty cool. And yeah, I just want to keep it going now. I just want to keep the momentum. And I was trying some stuff, and some did work, some did not, and that's okay. That's why I do this. um yeah, that's why I do this. Now, any updates? Let's see. It's been a weird week. A lot of stuff has been happening. A lot of things happening around the world. It's really bizarre. With all this, I think the elections, like in America, although it's America, it kind of like it feels like it affects the whole world, or even yeah, people that have nothing to do with it. Although I remember when I was in even like growing up in Romania, you had a lot of influences, from the states. So I don't know. I kind of like it kind of makes sense to me, but then in another way, it really doesn't. Because I've never lived in America. I'm not, but then yeah, it just feels like you almost, you have to, you gotta like pick a side, and I don't know. It just feels like it creates a lot of I don't want to say tension, because that's definitely not it. But anyway, yeah, that's obviously happening, and it's kind of interesting. I found it very very interesting in the last few days. Just no, yeah, I found it. Because I thought about it more, so that's why in the last few days I just find the idea fairly puzzling. When I live on the other, not the other side of the world technically, but I live very far from America, and I was born even further away from America. And but then yet there is no other country, like no other. I don't even think or know if I know as much about like English, like British politics, as I know about American politics, and it's kind of like, whoa, this is really wild. But yeah, obviously, like this week has been the Mental Health Awareness Day, uh, and it was quite nice, to go through like checking out other people's posts and work, and some stuff I found just mind blowing, but not in a good way. I wouldn't even say blowing then, because I'd say mind. I don't know. I don't kind of want to say like I got like mind fucked almost, but and sorry to swear already, even without having a guest on, but yeah, that's kind of how you felt. Like I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. I watched some posts about. I think my favorite was something again. My favorite post that kind of it was just so bizarre, and I don't know another word to use. It was something to do with the oh my god, I forgot the. It wasn't the globalization. It was the oh god. There was the it's gonna come to me. The word is gonna come to me, and it's not gentrification. Anyway. It was just like this sort of oh god, almost, yeah. I think it basically was this thing about how if you're from United States, UK, Canada, Israel, um, decolonization of mental health. And yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, it was something to do that you don't really have mental health problems. You just think you have it, but you don't really. And yeah, but this is the thing. I should know better to tell you precisely what blew my mind. But in one hand, I was like, this is so ridiculous, and I was kind of reading while laughing and commenting on everything. But then in the other hand, I was like, I don't know. I think a part of my head was like, just take this out of your brain. Don't let it impact you, because I don't want to, have a conversation with my friends over the weekend and be like, hey, what do you know about, you know, mental health struggles? You American, or you like English or Israeli person, you have no idea. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, that was one of them. But then the other ones, and the ones I kind of like shared throughout my social media was a lot of stuff about suicide prevention and addiction. And I've kind of just realized that it's been almost 2 years since I've been sober myself. And I don't know. I just feel like for a while, it's all I was thinking about and all I could kind of have in my head. I feel like, but then for a while, it's kind of just went there where I was like, yeah, I struggle with addiction, and I I'm sober now, and I'll just be sober forever. And it's kind of stayed like this, or hopefully I'll be sober forever. I'm still struggling sometimes. I still feel. I don't know. I just feel like the melancholy of the quotation marks good times, close quotations. Um, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that was actually cool. But then I think the remembering the misery that comes after, when you like sober up, or when you're like hungover. Um, that sort of like self despise and misery and everything, it's not, at least look, for me, it's not worth it. And it was just interesting to have to process this again. And again, as I was basically I was watching this thing about a um, Sunderland FC. It's like a football club in the second division in the UK, in England. Sorry, because there is like a Scottish league and stuff like that. But yeah, second division in England, and it's just like a guy whose name I should have remembered, but I'm sorry that I didn't. But yeah, he shared his story about like him struggling with addiction and how his recovery, and as I was watching that, I was kind of like, wow, it's hard and it's weird because I get it. It's so interesting to hear, and I think that for so many years I thought that oh, I'm just alone in this. Like nobody has any idea about how things work in my head, or like how I feel or see or do things or whatever. And then remember, I remember the moment when I walked in my first DBT session, and there were like, oh my god, there were almost like, I think like 10 people. I'm maybe 9. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, it was a lot of people already, and I was like, oh no way, these guys, like these people have same struggles. No way. And then we, throughout the program, we kind of like share stories and we talk about stuff. And you're like, whoa, this is wild, because I thought I was the only one. And yeah, I kind of hope that this is what the podcast brings to anyone listening. Whether you're struggling with a personality disorder yourself, or with any, you know we struggle with anything at all, or whether you're impacted, because that's how I like to think about it. It's about the people who are impacted by everything, whether again you have it or someone that you care about has it. You are still you know impacted by it. I don't want to say a victim. I don't know why. I'm not going to give like a smart definition, because I haven't thought about it really, over the reason why I don't want to say victim, but I'd rather say impacted. Whether I hope you get my point. And yeah, look, guys, I hope. Sorry, look, people, I hope you enjoyed me rambling for a bit longer than usual, but I feel like there was a lot to cover, a lot of stuff that I wanted to kind of talk to you about. And you're up next. You're going to listen to a very good episode, if I say so. It's with Nick, and I I don't have a lot of friends. I think I'm a very I know quite a few people. I have a lot of, I guess, connections, or I get on with a lot of people, but Nick is kind of, is a comedian that I've met around when I first came to London, and every time we spoke, we kind of like have a bond of some sort. I feel, anyway. All I'm saying is I feel much. All I was trying to say is I feel much closer to him, and I consider him a friend. And the conversation that we had um, on the pod was brilliant. And then we had so much. Every time we kind of meet and chit chat, we just talk about so much stuff, and I always enjoy it. Sometimes it's we're, I guess, challenging each other's views on certain things, but that's good. That's healthy, and I kind of like that. So I hope you enjoyed the episode too, and I'll catch you later. Okay, so Nick, how's it going?
Hello, I'm here.
Yes, you are.
Can yeah, it's working. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's good. That's so good. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No, you're very welcome. How did I mean, it's a weird, it's very ambiguous weather, because it looks like it's
Yes.
gonna rain and then it's not. So,
It looks like it's going to be cold, but it's not,
but it's not. Yeah.
which I'm not complaining about.
Why not?
I don't like the cold.
Really?
No. I'm from Cyprus, man.
I know, but
We don't do that.
do you not find this like too humid?
Yeah, a little bit, maybe. Yeah.
Because I can't sleep. I slept on the sofa for the past week, not a week, but like the last maybe 3 4 days, just because I
Yeah.
can't. in bed. I just feel like the bed sheets just like stick to my skin.
Yeah, I know. I hate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's a bit shit. But anyway, besides of that, have you
So there's a sign of us becoming British.
British? Yeah.
We start talking about the weather
When did you
as
move here?
I moved here. Well, long version is I was here for a year in 2015. Then I went back home for a year. So then I came back in 2017, and I've been here ever since. But my mom is British, so I come as a kid.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so basically, you came to England from an early age as on
I was.
holiday.
Oh yeah. Because my grandparents live here, so I
No
come and
way.
visit. Yeah, yeah.
What? What? So, as in, you'd go from Cyprus on holiday to London.
Yeah. Yeah. I never thought of that actually. Yeah. Yeah. It's the other way around.
Yeah, when people just
Everyone wants to
try and
leave.
leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? So how long you? How come you're? Oh wait, yeah, because you said your mom's British, so your part,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
those grandparents were living in England.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. But they're she's not English. She
Oh,
was just born here. So they're immigrants basically.
but still Cypriots, or
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And how did your mom get to be back in Cyprus?
Oh, she married my dad, and much to her dismay, she moved to Cyprus to.
But did they meet in England?
No, it's so they had common relatives. They're not related. I'm just saying they're not related. They have common relatives.
Okay.
So they knew each other from a young age. So they used to play together.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. And then when because my grandparents, her parents, typical immigrants, would always go back to the motherland
Yeah.
for
Holiday.
holiday in the
Yeah.
summer. So they would always go and visit cousins and blah blah blah. And my dad would be at his cousins, the same cousins, right?
Interesting.
So they knew each other. And then when she was a teenager, I think 17 or 18, they went again.
Oh,
And she saw him and she was like, "Oh, Chris is kind of cute, Chris, my dad."
yeah.
And the cousins, she just said this one thing, poor girl. And the cousins just went with it and they like told their dad. And they're like, "Oh, Sophie likes Chris." And then the whole family conspired and tried to get them together. And then that's how they started dating. Yeah.
That's
then-
cute.
Yeah. He's kind of cute, I guess.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know, because I was gonna say whether you'd be, but I think if I had to choose, I'd probably live in live in Cyprus for the
Yeah.
weather. I don't know. I don't know, like politically and financially.
No. It's a great place to live. But I guess if you want to live there, you have to come to terms with certain things. Well, when I was growing up, anyway, like for example, more creative things.
Yeah.
You have to come to terms with that. It will always just be like there's a certain level you can get to, and then you can't really progress and make it a career.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a small place.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, in terms of comedy, now things are picking up, and there's actual open mics every now and again. Not
way.
like here.
Have you
Once a
done it?
month or something. I did a festival once in May. Yes.
Did you do it in Greek or
Yes,
in?
for the first time. Yeah.
No
yeah,
way.
Yeah.
How did you go?
It went well. Yeah.
Like, but did you have to rewrite your
Yes.
material?
Yeah.
Or did you, was it the same or like a version of what you did in English, or was it
Yeah.
totally new?
I had a few jokes that I could translate and it worked because it just
They
worked.
still worked, yeah?
But other jokes wouldn't work because my whole thing here is I'm from Cyprus and no one knows where I'm from. I can't do that joke there because
Yeah.
we're all from the same place. So I had to write something new. Yeah, it went fine. It was only 5 minutes. Yeah. So.
But where did you do it? Did you live in like a big city, or are you from like a?
No, yeah, I'm from a place called Limassol, which is like the most southern
Yeah.
city, I suppose. It's one of the bigger cities. Yeah.
So, because you were saying about like finding your creativity, so then obviously you grew up in Limassol.
Yes.
Were you like was comedy your always like your art of choice, or did you
No.
do anything else?
No, I mean, also the thing with me is because of my mom, and we were very close growing up. Because she, not to get into it too much, had a bit of a hard time over there, like with family. This is very common with a lot of people, I suppose. So she really, really like held on to her British side, her Britishness,
Okay.
So she really instilled that Britishness in myself and my sister. So a lot of the things I grew up liking weren't very typical of like Cypriot people.
No way.
Like music and TV at home was always British sitcoms and things like that. So it's like I have this mixture of cultures, even though I grew up there.
Yeah.
So it's like I felt I was a little bit lost creatively because like the music I listened to a lot of like British heavy metal from the 80s, right?
Okay.
And no one likes that in Cyprus. Some people do. I'm not saying, but it's a
Yeah,
very
yeah,
small part
yeah.
of the population. Even metal in general is like it's not very popular over there. So it's like all my friends or people in school they would listen to just the most random modern Greek stuff, and I would just listen to Iron Maiden. So it's like, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always felt a bit out of place with that. But in terms of comedy, how I got into it is when I can't remember, 14 or 15, that age.
Yeah.
My parents showed me Eddie Murphy's Raw. You know Eddie
Nice.
Murphy's
Yeah,
Raw?
yeah, yeah.
It just changed my life, man.
Really?
Actually, wait, I should say this. The first time, not comedian, but the first funny thing I really liked was Jim Carrey. You know, it's Jim Carrey.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I was just trying to remember which.
No, not his stand up. I didn't know he was a stand up, but his movies, he's very funny and like kid
Oh
like.
my God, I'm so sorry. I had a brain freeze for a second. I
Yeah.
think you said Jimmy Carr. And I
No,
was
no,
like,
I wouldn't. How would I know that?
yeah, no, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was confused. I
No,
was
no, no,
thinking,
no.
but yeah, Jim
Yeah,
Carrey, of
and
course.
all the and what
I
was it?
love
The
Jim
pet
Carrey, man.
detective, what is it?
Yeah,
Ace Ventura?
Ventura.
Yeah, and all the loud noises and all the voices. And I used to do all these little
Oh,
voices.
the mask, man.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
green mask. Or no, the mask was called. Yeah,
Yeah.
what a great movie.
So that was my first, like, I would do all these little voices around the house, and my dad would just like, stop talking like that and all that stuff. But then when I was a teenager, yeah, they showed me Eddie Murphy, and that was the first time I realized what stand up can be, and it just changed my life, man. Because as a kid, I like swearing a lot because my dad swear,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I want to be, and I saw Eddie Murphy, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's swearing, and he's talking about women, and he's getting paid. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I just want to talk and swear and talk about pussy and get money. But obviously, I was in Cyprus, and you're like, oh, this can never happen here because there was nothing like stand up over there back then. So it's something I just buried deep inside my brain. I was like, one day I'll try this,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I kept putting it off. And I was like, because I knew I was gonna come to England eventually for whatever, however long. Because my mom was like, "You're gonna go to England. You're gonna go to England." So yeah, I just thought one day I'm gonna.
You know, about this, I'm actually very curious, especially as like a Romanian. Um, did you then learn English at home?
Yes. Yeah.
That I'm very jealous, because I was just curious because I imagine in Cyprus you learn it at school.
We do, but I think most Cypriots speak English well.
Really? How come?
Yeah, because we used to be a colony, and
Oh yeah, of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people, the accent though is obviously
Different.
but a lot of people speak English well, and a lot of people come to study here as well. It's a thing, so everyone speaks English in Cyprus.
Now you know what, that makes so much sense
Yeah.
because I think of meeting again, I guess, Greek people, and they wouldn't speak English as well.
No,
And now
yeah.
I've just noticed, and I just came to the realization now. Any Cypriot person that I've ever met,
Yeah,
regardless of how little or long they lived in England,
they speak English.
they speak
Yeah,
very
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
The Greeks don't. The
interesting.
Greeks, because they didn't have that. They didn't.
Yeah, of
it
course,
wasn't a colony.
yeah,
They didn't have
yeah.
that history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why I think, and again, it's my own what's the word? Not knowing.
Yeah. How would you know that?
I forgot the word, but yeah, basically, and always like assimilating. Oh yeah, Greek is very similar too, and then I'm like, that's why to me it was almost like again a similar thing. Well,
Yeah.
while now I've just also realized that yeah, of course it makes sense because yes, Cyprus was a part of the British colony, so
Yeah.
it's I don't know. I feel like in Romania we've learned was like, I know that have you seen the Russian kids speaking English? Because like
Yeah.
hot potato.
Yeah.
I have a hot potato in my mouth, and that's how that's how I learn English.
Yeah.
You know, you go to America or like to England, to London, and
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
I am in London.
Yeah.
I love
Now I learn the tea.
I
The
drink a
big red
tea.
bus. Something. Yeah. No, very different. And I mean, for me, obviously, like my mom, and I also went to an English speaking school, so English was,
Oh wow.
and we swap it around. Like I'll say one sentence with both languages,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and my dad as well. His English is very good, so yeah, it's just
That's yeah, I was gonna say as well. How did your parents like talk? Because but I imagine as well because I think because your mom like although she was born here, but from Cypriot parents, probably she
yeah.
learned Greek
She's
and
yeah.
yeah, makes
And
sense.
like her parents forced her to go to Greek school in the week on the weekends, and yeah, it's a whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Have you? Oh no, wait, because I was gonna say you were. Did you have to like take extra curriculum English stuff? Because you said your mom was kind of like trying to keep this like British
Yeah.
side of you and the family
Uh-huh.
alive. So did you have to do extra things besides of obviously the music, movies?
No, no, it wasn't that extreme. She wouldn't,
Oh no, it's not about. I was just curious whether she was like, oh, yeah, it's Friday, we eat fish and chips.
no, 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 nothing like that. It's weird. Because again, I don't think she's necessarily British in that she kept a lot of quote unquote British or English traditions. I
Yeah,
think she just held on to her own experience,
yeah.
her little neighborhood. Her yeah. I don't
Which
know how to explain it.
I'm sure it would have been difficult because I think about how because I think unfortunately I sometimes I feel like I got to the point where I feel like I am too Romanian
Yeah,
to be accepted as an English person,
yeah,
but then I'm also sometimes I feel like I became too English
to
to
be
be
yeah,
accepted as a Romanian. So
yeah.
I can imagine only like how it felt,
Oh,
you know,
it's the
for your
same for me.
and
Yeah,
it's weird, no? Because it's not like I feel like this idea of belonging
yeah,
gets sometimes I don't know. I feel like it makes me sad, you know, because I'm like, no, I'm still the same. I'd like to think I'm the same person that I've always been.
yeah.
It's just that now I sometimes I see things from again two different perspectives.
Absolutely.
So I can even yeah, that's the thing. I can imagine being in like your mom's or your shoes now because you're
Yeah,
saying
yeah. And for me, it's almost a little bit self imposed sometimes because when I'm there, I'm slightly a different like you adapt.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I become my Cypriot version,
yeah.
like the guy I was growing up or around friends and stuff. And it's like you feel inside you, you're being a bit disingenuous, and it's everyone has no idea, but inside you have this battle going on between the two cultures, and you say one thing, and then you're like, oh, why did I say that? That's not what I truly believe. That's not who I am, and it's just a constant. Yeah, you're constantly trying to figure out who you are. It's a thing. It's not just I don't know what they call it. Third culture kid, is that what there's a term for it?
Really?
People who I think the term came up for people who say, for example, I don't know, if your parents are in the military and say you're from America, but you live in Germany,
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
have the
yeah.
American and the German sort of experience. So it's people who have this clash of not necessarily clash, but who grew up with all these cultural influences.
And then it changes.
So it's like they become a third culture of their own. I think that's why it's called
Ah, okay, yeah, because
third culture
everything
kid.
intertwines in
Yeah,
one
yeah.
thing, and then your that thing where, which again is not necessarily fitting everywhere, but
Anyway,
it
yeah.
has, I guess, flavors of
Yes.
a little bit of everything that you've. Interesting, because yeah, I was gonna say I sometimes feel like that when yeah, when I either speak with Romanian people here, but I think again, it's just also I find it when I speak with foreign like other foreign people and then I also sometimes brings that Romanian part of me where I'm like, you know what, I remember when I just moved here
Yeah.
and I was like this guy who was like, what is this, what is, you
Yeah.
know, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I see it. Like I remember when I heard the word mortgage
I'm all,
for the first I was like, what is buying a house mortgage, what the fuck
yeah.
because I just don't I generally still to this point I don't understand how the word mortgage became a thing because it has nothing to do with buy a house.
Oh man, I don't know.
Home owner. No, I know. I wasn't saying like
Yeah.
is Nick.
Explain it
Yeah,
to me.
explain it to me. But I first remember or like bank holiday. I was like, we
I
have
think that's because of
the bank would be
the bank will be
closed.
closed or
I know,
something. I
but
don't
in
know.
Romania you just have a holiday, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
public holiday.
yeah.
While in here is like, oh, but that's a bank holiday. And I remember the first time thinking, oh, it's okay. I don't need to go to the bank. So, because I
I'm
just
off the
thought,
hook.
yeah, I
Yeah,
just thought banks are not
yeah,
working, which is weird. But also,
yeah,
why do you have to announce it like that?
yeah. I get it.
And yeah, instead of just going like public holiday, yeah, it's this kind of cultural little
Yeah,
thing. Oh, council tax was one thing that really like blew my mind.
yeah, because you have to pay
Yeah.
it, which sucks.
No, because in Romania we pay you pay council tax, but it's very small, and
Yeah,
usually you pay it once a year.
yeah.
So you just pay like in one big. But again, it's not
Kind
even
of
a big
thinking like what
payment.
we
It's
do, but
like you pay like I think it's like depending on the value of the property, you pay between 100 and 200 pounds a year, and that's
oh,
it. It's
that's
done.
nothing. Yeah, compared
Yeah,
to what?
yeah, yeah. Compared to here,
Yeah,
and then in here, it's like, oh, you gotta set up a direct debit. And I remember, oh, direct debits as well. I was
yeah.
like, oh, so like they take money from your bank account?
I think that's more of a age thing than a cultural thing.
Oh, what do you mean? I'm
They have what do you call them? What's the word? Yeah,
I was 17.
your bank can do that in Romania as well.
Yeah, I know, but I've never. I
A
think,
standing order. That's what it's called. A standing
yeah,
order. Yeah.
but the thing is, my dad did, although he was an accountant, he didn't trust banks. Yeah, my
Yeah.
dad was like, keep your money under your pillow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the mattress.
it's safe. And I was
Nice
like,
and
and then I got in and it was
tax
like,
fraud.
yeah, I remember when I mean again, he was an accountant. Who's to blame?
Yeah.
That was his job.
He knows the loopholes.
And then yeah, I came to England and I go like, oh, you have to get a job and you get paid in your bank account. And I was like, excuse me?
Can you pay me cash?
Yeah, I was like, it's just you can't see it because it's audio, but I'm making the gesture of
Yeah. Cash is king.
Cash is king. Yeah, just being like, do I get paper money? But they change it to plastic. Anyway, that's a whole different problem.
The most the thing I find the most annoying about me with this cultural like back and forth is my accent fluctuates depending on who I'm talking to.
Same. Yeah.
And I find it so patronizing sometimes. If I'm around purely, like working class English people, I'll become a bit of a geezer myself, and then if I'm around more posh people, I push it up. If I'm around people who aren't from here, I speak more like my Cypriot English. It's just so annoying. It just fluctuates all over the place, and it's just I feel so disenchanted.
Does it happen to you if, say, you speak with a person who's a foreigner but not like a Greek or a Cypriot foreigner, to still change your
A
accent?
little bit, yeah. I'm scared that they won't understand me, so
Yeah.
I do it with Cypriots as well. If my Cypriot friends are around and I'm speaking in English, I start to sound like this because I have to intonate every part of the word because they will not understand. You know what I mean? So yeah,
I sometimes get when I get like in my day job I speak with like Italian people,
Yeah.
Spanish, and then I just go into like a crazy English
yeah.
accent, and then they're like, oh, you speak Italian? I'm
Allora,
like,
parla italiano.
yeah, and I'm like,
no, bro.
no, bro. And I was
Speak
like,
Romanian.
fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you've again you had to make all this move. And when did you start doing comedy?
I started 2.5 years ago, I'd say.
How did that happen? Because again, you were talking about like Eddie Murphy being a
Yes.
huge influence and being like, oh, I want to start. But then
Mhm.
what finally pushed you into?
So I kept putting it on hold, and then I was too shy and just too scared.
No
to try.
way.
Yeah, I'm super shy. So this is all fake. I'm the shyest person in the world. Anyway, so I kept putting it off, and then I was when I moved back here in 2017. 2017, yeah, I was in Brighton. That's where I did my degree.
Oh.
So I kept like, oh, maybe I'll try, and then I started looking into it, like researching how it works.
Yeah.
How do you start off? I learned about all these the open mic scene and
Yeah.
what
When
it
you
all
get your
means.
Netflix
Yeah,
special.
yeah, no, exactly. Open mic for a year, Edinburgh next year, and then Netflix. So I was looking into it, so I felt like I was at least I'm researching on it,
Yeah.
and then I started writing things down that I found funny on my phone, like on the notes. I was like, I'll use it one day, so
Yeah.
I'll just to have it, and then. I really wanted to do it. I was like, I went to watch an open mic in Brighton, and this was my third
Bad
year.
idea.
It was my third year. No, it was fun. It was
I
good.
know, I was joking.
It was my third year at uni, and it was right before COVID. So I went to watch an open mic, and I
Yeah.
was like, in a few weeks, I'm gonna
I'm gonna
book
do it.
and I'm gonna come and do it. And then the first lockdown happened, that first wave of the COVID thing, and I was like, oh, the universe is sending me a message that I shouldn't be a comedian. And then I think that kind of helped because it in my mind I developed this like mentality of like I'm never gonna put anything I want to do on hold again, because I kept putting it on hold for so long because I was like, I'm too shy, I'm not gonna be funny, I'm not gonna be good, and putting out all these expectations on myself.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, now I have to go and try this thing
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
like I said, I
You
didn't want
never
to put
know.
it on hold
Yeah.
again. And then after the COVID, everything, I went back home for a few months for the first lockdown. And then when I came back, when I found work, I moved to London. I was like, okay, now it has to happen,
Yeah.
And I found all the groups online, the comedy collective, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
on Facebook. And I went to my first gig. I think it was the 31st of March, 2022. I think I can't remember.
No way.
It was in March, but I
Nice.
can't remember the exact date.
Also, last date of March, day of March.
Yeah.
If you, yeah, interesting. Because yeah, I think I did the October, but I think October
Mm.
2020.
But did you start in Manchester?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And the same thing. I was like, because the lockdown was very weird, and I didn't do. Again, I started writing because my therapist was the first time
Mm.
that I had a therapist. Was like, oh, why don't you write down like your thoughts? And then I was, oh, these are actually quite
It's
funny.
quite funny. Yeah.
Yeah, and
My mental health is funny.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, also don't jump, but but yeah. So I started writing, and then I remember I went to an gong show.
Oh, for your first one.
No, as in like to
Just
watch.
to watch.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to
Yeah.
watch, and that was between lockdowns.
Uh-huh.
Like when we the restrictions were lifted, and there, but then so the restrictions were lifted. I went to this gong show, and I've seen like some people just getting like card like
Annihilated.
booed off, yeah, in like
Yeah.
30 seconds or something
Oh,
like this.
God.
And I was like, oh God, this is it. But then I thought, but I also, a part of me was like, I'm so much better than this. And
From the
just
get-go.
just writing. No, but the thing is, I also think because I had I had almost, because in 2019 so maybe in 2020 I started writing, and I did comedy for the first time in 2022. I had 2 years
Exactly.
of writing.
Yeah.
So like genuinely, I think like my first 5 minutes
Yeah.
were actually good.
Okay.
Because
Mine was
again,
terrible.
because I had this, like every time I was doing, because I remember I was going to open mics and stuff, and I was doing it, and I was getting constantly laughters. But then when I hit like a wall,
Yeah.
was when I had to build up on those.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
Come up with more
oh
stuff.
shit, yeah. And
Yeah.
I remember having this fear of like, am I 5 minutes
Is that it?
comedian? Yeah,
All I
like,
have.
is that
5 minutes.
yeah.
I still feel that way sometimes.
It's weird because again, you kind of like get something, and then everything. I feel like, I don't know about you, but like to me, I'm like such a, an addict of. I feel I have an addictive personality, but then with
Mm.
comedy, I'm like, oh, this laugh was big, but the next one has to be bigger.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
it's
you're
like, oh,
chasing
how
the
do I do?
dragon
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then I was just like, oh no, this is not. And then something, it would be okay, but it's not good enough. Or like, it's one of those things where in your head it makes sense, but that's because you live in your head,
yeah, exactly.
while the person that you're chatting with doesn't.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh, you have no idea what it is. And then I remember at one point thinking, where I'm like, oh, you don't know what I'm talking about, but this is funny. And I'm like, oh, you know what, actually you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because I'm not portraying
yeah,
it,
because
yeah.
yeah. So you have to do that. So I think that that was like my uh, issue or issues when I started. But yeah, it was from writing, from doing all those notes about today. I didn't sleep at all. I'm like,
Fuck my life.
fuck, yeah, I hate this. I think my dad hated me a little bit.
Yeah.
Although I don't,
That
he was a
hitting too
wonderful
close
dad.
to home.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, my mother thinks I am successful. I am such a piece of shit liar.
Oh God.
And I don't know if it's similar, but like in I sometimes also talking about like this almost having like different personas.
Yes.
But when I go to Romania, I see this Romanian part of me, which is like, I think when you're in Romanian, or like what I've learned from my other Romanian friends who traveled overseas, is that when you go to Romania, you have to show how well you're doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
like, I don't know, now it happens where I speak to a Romanian person and I can almost feel this like throwing up,
Yeah.
but like throwing up information that like, oh, I make so much money,
Yeah.
I'm so successful,
Yeah.
I have so many friends, everyone loves me.
Yeah. We do something similar. Yeah.
While inside I'm like, no, everything is shit. Like I haven't been paid properly in
In ages.
ages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just weird.
I kind of don't live in London. Although I say I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is Watford London? It should
Yeah.
be.
So, do you live in London? Oh, you live next to the Queen? No, man. It's
Yeah,
fucking zone
London.
zone 57. I don't know. It's all right where I live, but you know. No, I know exactly what you mean. And people back home do it to themselves. Everyone's like, "Oh, look at me! I bought this car. I bought this. I have this job." And it's like, "Oh, come on, man!" It's like,
And because now, do you still because you went, so you're in Brighton, graduated, moved to London.
yeah,
Oh, so basically, because your grandparents were in London,
yeah,
but then you went to Brighton on your own, studied,
yeah.
and then came up, started comedy.
I was actually planning to stay in Brighton,
No, no way.
but the pandemic changed that because
Oh,
no one who was going to hire me there. There's not a lot of jobs in Brighton. And I left the UK for a few months, and then I found work. I was like, it makes sense to go to London if I'm going to come back to England. Yeah.
what did you study?
Psychology.
Nice. How did
Yeah.
that? What drew you into that?
Ah, God. You know what? You want the long story?
Yeah, I mean, whichever story you want to share.
I initially did a music course. I play music as well.
No way.
Yeah, look, your boy is very talented, you know.
What? So you did? So what did you do in the music wise?
I did a drum. It was a diploma. It's
Diploma,
a
yeah.
BTech. It's like a equivalent of 2 A levels, I think.
Interesting.
Like an apprenticeship
Yeah.
equivalent thing. So I did a BTech in drumming in
Yeah.
London.
No way.
Yeah, at a place called BIM.
Okay.
It's like a music college.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I did that, and then so when I finished that, I went back home for a year, and the idea was I'm going to go back home and practice drums with my old teacher, and prepare to go to a conservatoire. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
In Holland, because they have a lot of good music in Holland. But I was trying to learn jazz and pop and Latin and stuff like that. It was very hard drumming, and it's not really my thing.
Yeah.
I was just doing it because that's what my teacher did.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And I kind of halfway through the year, I was like, this isn't me. It's not what I want to do. I like heavy metal. Even if I learned, I don't want to be a jazz drummer, just for the sake of
Although it's
saying,
beautiful,
it's amazing.
yeah.
I love to listen to it. And I used to go to a lot of gigs, but it's not what I want.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And then I was thinking, but you don't really go to study heavy metal drumming. You just do it, You go, you make a band, and you get on with it.
Yeah.
So then I thought, my mom was very adamant on me. Like, she's like, you have to do a degree. Education is key. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So whatever. So I was like, okay, what do I want to do? In school, I didn't really like a lot of things. Although I did well, I didn't like, accounting or law or history or English or whatever. So I was like, what am I going to study? The only thing I thought I liked was psychology, and my reasoning was like at that time, I was going through this phase. It was like everything was so deep, and I love people, and I want to get to know them, and the brain is amazing, which is true, I suppose. But I had this very romanticized
Yeah,
idea
yeah, yeah.
of what psychology was. I thought all of because obviously growing up in Cyprus, we don't really have a lot of awareness of mental health or what a psychology degree is, and I was so silly. I didn't even think to look into it or ask. I was just, psychology sounds cool. I'll
No
just do it.
way.
So I thought it would be, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and study, and we're gonna talk about Freud all day, and philosophize about
Yeah.
life with my tutors, and drink wine, and all this shit. But
Yeah.
it's not like that at all. You end up doing a lot of stats, and it's very like research and scientific-y, I suppose. Um, so yeah, I guess I just on a whim just decided to come to England and do psychology, and also have it as an excuse to be in England to pursue those other creative
Yeah.
things on the side. And I've been kind of doing that ever since, I suppose. Yeah, so that's how I got into psychology.
It's wild because I think as well when I was in Romania, we I was like at a little posh school, so we got to actually have a psychologist, like a school psychologist.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a thing in Romania. Like
Oh,
we were the first.
as well. Yeah.
We were the first ones to have a psychologist, and then I remember kind of like meeting her, and I basically once had a fight with someone in the class,
Mm-hmm.
and basically he hit me in the crotch,
Oh.
and then because we were like wrestling,
Yeah.
like as in like WWE
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
And then he hit me in the crotch, so then I hit him with a chair,
Yeah.
and and then my teacher was like, "You might have some mental health
You
problem," and
you have some anger issues.
no, but
Yeah.
literally she was like, you need to
Yeah.
maybe you need support. So then I basically got, but this was a weird thing as well. I got punished
Mm.
to go and do like I think it was like five
Therapy
sessions,
sessions. Yeah.
five therapy sessions. And I just went to this, and then it was like this poor like lady who I think she just graduated psychology. Probably this school
Yeah.
was like the closest to her hometown
Yeah.
that she's found a job.
Mm.
And we were just kind of, I think the first time we were just looking at each other because she's like, "So did you? I heard you hit someone with a chair." And I
Get
was
out of
like,
that kid.
"Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, it's true." And she was
You're
like,
proud of it.
"Yeah." She was like, "Is everything?" But it was weird because I was kind of like, "Is everything okay at home?" I was like, "Yeah." Although 2 years late, 2 years after this, my parents divorced, but that's another.
So
Yeah, so it was a
things were
pre.
brewing, I
No, but
suppose.
at the time it wasn't a problem
Okay.
at all. It's just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fact that I just hit this guy, and then she went through like the most basic stuff. But that's the thing. Like my basically what I was trying to say is like my idea about it growing up was always that it's kind of like where like again crazy people.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
as well, we went to before Christmas every year. We used to
Mhm.
go to like an asylum
Yeah.
to help out, basically to like give like basically presents
Yeah.
to people with like mental health,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what actually it was loads of issues as well as people with, like mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just again, but again, that was the side of it. Like that's everything I saw. It was just like people dressed in white,
Yeah.
looking after these people that dressed in gray.
Yeah. The
And
tied up and
yeah, and I
very,
remember once I was walking on this corridor, and then we heard some noise from a room, and then I looked through the window and I could see this guy like tied to the bed. Basically, the noise was from him trying to basically like free
escape,
himself.
yeah.
And then I asked why was this, and then they were like, "Oh, he's under." He's basically on this on a calm down period, so he had addiction issues, and now
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know. And I was like, "Fuck,
He's
hell!" And but again, that,
withdraws.
in my head, yeah, that was it. Like that was psychiatry. But then a part of me also, I feel like very Freudian. I was like, you know what? Everything will probably be like someone coming in your office thinking like, "Oh, I'm crazy," and I'm like, "You're okay," and that's
Yeah.
it. I fixed them. You know, almost like
Have some cocaine.
yeah. But I would be like, you know, someone going, "Oh, I want to kill myself." I'm like, you don't.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, you know what? You're right. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's very similar back home. We have, yeah, everyone thinks psychology and mental health is for crazy people. or hysterical bored
Yeah.
housewives, which isn't true. It's yeah, but it's changing a lot, even back home. Like there's therapists now. A lot of people go. It's good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which is good again because, like you said, it's. I think at least it opens up those doors of, like, there are things to figure out about. Because I think growing up, I had such a huge idea of, like, oh, it makes sense to feel like everyone feels sad, and I'm like, yeah, but probably
Mm.
not every day, not
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
people don't wake up with like the dread of getting out of bed and stuff like that, and I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
especially when you're young.
yeah, especially,
It's a
yeah, like,
big,
yeah, I remember, like,
yeah,
as a which I wish I knew then, because now I'm kind of,
yeah.
I think I had this thing on my 26th birthday.
Mhm.
I the way I looked at myself was that I don't remember ever since I was when I was 13 is the last time I remembered being like genuinely happy.
Oh,
And I remember when I turned 26, I was like, this is it, like half of my life.
oh, sorry, man.
It's already been misery.
Yeah.
And I was
Oh,
like, there is no way up.
yeah.
And luckily, again, things kind of change, and I'm working things out, and it's going better. But it was just such a weird fucking idea to
Yeah.
have as a 26-year-old, and
Yeah.
I was like, this is it. People go like, oh yeah, don't worry, you'll be like middle aged. I was like, I already feel middle aged.
I don't want more of
That's
this.
yeah,
Yeah, man. It's tough.
yeah.
And yeah, especially when you're young and people downplay it. They're like, oh, you're young, you got everything to look forward to. You got your whole life ahead of you, but and they don't, yeah, it's like they invalidate what you're feeling.
As well as that, and it's I feel like when I remember every time I'd go to but again, it's not to say bad things is about like people that I grew up against, or
Mm.
people back home, but every time I was like, oh, just keep yourself busy with something.
Yeah.
Like I remember
Yeah, avoid everything
in the last
forever
in
until you go nuts. Yeah.
my favorite thing is like, do you play football?
Do you walk? You should start walking.
Yeah, walking. I was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, okay. That's
Yeah,
gonna help.
which
Which,
also
to some extent,
it
yeah, of
does.
course.
Yeah.
Physical, like being physically, healthy is good for your mental health, of
I
course.
I always feel with stuff like this is the right attitude,
Yeah,
but it's just put in the wrong way. Where it's
yeah,
like, if
yeah.
you try, like when I don't know if it's happened to you, but have you used mental health like services? Like, have
Yeah,
you done therapy or anything
yeah.
like
I've
that?
done therapy. Yeah, I have. Yeah, yeah.
Because I was gonna say every time I kind of like had to do it, and I even remembered when I had to go to see my GP, or when
Mhm.
I got to see a psychiatrist. It was always the same fucking questions, like this. It's like,
Yeah,
have you meditate? Like, do you try to meditate?
yeah,
And I'm like, if I remember at one point, kind of like almost snapping at my
yeah,
GP. I'm like, there is nothing on that list that I haven't tried to
yeah.
do at least once.
I think the
Let's
issue
just
is,
assume that I've done it.
yeah,
What's next?
the problem with especially like a centralized
Yeah,
health system like the NHS, where it's like one big thing, is that they have these steps, right? They have to go through. So they
yeah,
try with this like, oh, I'll give you some what's it called, like psychoeducation, and they give you all these like self-help
yeah, yeah,
handouts, and they say, oh, go and read about CBT online, and they give you all these things, and then if it's worse, come back. So they're trying to justify,
yeah,
the help they give. So as soon as they meet you, they can't offer you, say, for example, one-to-one sessions because you're new. So you have to go through this whole process of trying things. It's like, oh, if we can quote unquote help you slash fix you with the least intervention, uh, it's good for us because we're saving
yeah,
resources and
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And then you have to persist. If you're really unwell, you either have to go to A&E, or you have to keep persisting. You're going back to your GP. It's not working, and then they'll
yeah,
prescribe something, and then that's not working, and then they'll say, "Oh, let's refer you to IAPT," and then you'll do a very brief talking thing therapy, and then that's not going to work, and then they'll say, "Well, why don't you go and use the skills we've taught you for a few
yeah, yeah.
months, and then if it doesn't work, come back." And then 3 years down the line, you convince them that, hey, I need some serious help.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so I used to work in the NHS, and I know what it's like.
Were you doing that while doing comedy? Like, were you working in
Ah,
NHS
yeah,
while?
yeah. That's so yeah. So when I graduated, my first job was in a mental health hospital, actually.
Way.
So I wasn't doing comedy that year. I was planning to start, but
Yeah.
because I was doing shifts and
Yeah,
night
yeah,
shifts
yeah.
as well, and it just, I was
That's why I
all,
was just curious. What was like your schedule like?
yeah. When I was there, the first year in the NHS, I was all over the place. But then when I got a 9 to 5 job, when I moved, I went to
Yeah.
another place. I started doing comedy then. Yeah, and I kept.
What was it like to work? Like, what was the experience like in that year?
Which one?
To work in a hospital, like mental health hospital.
Ah, it
Is-
was it was something, I'll tell you.
Really?
Because I wasn't really aware uh of what it was like, you know, because I left because of COVID and
Yes.
I was just desperate to find any job, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So I kept applying and applying and nothing was coming up. And then this is basically the first job that even gave me an interview.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'll fucking fine, I'll go there. And then you know the way the person specs are on the NHS website as well, they kind of don't you don't really understand, you know, what you're really going to be doing.
Yeah.
And then also my ignorance, the fact that I didn't really know what it meant to work for a mental health
Yeah.
hospital. I
Yeah.
just thought, oh yeah, I'll just whatever. So it's basically like a ward with
Yeah.
and it was a PQ ward, which is a intensive care unit, psychiatric intensive
Oh.
care unit. So it was the very serious cases, and it was an adult male ward as well. So it was quite intense. And I was a healthcare assistant, and I was basically on the floor on the
Yeah.
ward, just helping out with the nurses and just trying to help with the everyday needs of the patients.
Mhm.
And yeah, man, it's tough, very scary as well because some people are very unwell, and you know they they lash out on
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if they're having like paranoid ID or
Yeah.
you know ideations, and they think you're, I don't know, this guy thought I was there to steal his soul, you know, things like that. And
Oh my
some people are
God.
genuinely unwell, and some
Yeah.
people are not as unwell as they pretend to be, and then they use their condition as an
Yeah.
excuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you meet some people who are, they have some serious, very serious sort of like mental health disorders, and they're the loveliest people. You know, they would never hurt anyone. They're very generous. They're very kind. And then you have people who just use their condition as an excuse
Wow.
to lash out and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
to get away with things.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, it's intense. You go into the ward and you're like, I was very nervous. I was like, oh my god, what's gonna happen today? Am I gonna get
Oh my
punched?
God.
Am I gonna get you have to restrain people as well. It's fucking.
What
yeah.
did you actually have to do it, or did you actually get someone to do it for you?
The
How did it
what? The
work?
restraining? No,
Yeah.
yeah. They train you, and you can't do it by yourself. It's a
Of
whole
course, yeah,
team,
you have to.
but it's just it's insane, man. Putting your hands on people, and then the fear they are going through, the fear you're
That you're
going
going
through,
through, yeah.
and you're all holding on to each other. And obviously, when I say restraining, you don't hurt them, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
You
you
just, but if they're on the ward and they're kicking doors and they're
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
beat up other patients and they're trying to
Oh
beat
my
up the stuff,
God.
you have to do something.
Yeah, of course.
So there's an alarm, and then everyone rushes, and people from other wards come, and you all form a team, and you try and manage the situation. And sometimes it gets so bad where you just let them, you go away, protect yourself, and you call the police. And sometimes it gets very out of hand.
No way.
Yeah.
What? So, as in, like, you'd basically, like, do you like close the door behind you or something like that? Or
Essentially, yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And then was it like, generally,
Although personally, I never witnessed
okay,
such a thing.
right.
People who used to work there told me that there was a guy who's like he was so strong he ripped the door off his room. It's like, what are you gonna do? He can rip the door off.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You
no,
know,
yeah,
are you gonna go and
yeah.
it's
But then, did you? Is it like such a thing as in like a quick like a quicker police response, or is it just like a similar thing where you call 999 and then they come?
no. I think they come quicker to these kind of.
Interesting.
A
Man,
lot of the
that's-
times now they stopped doing it, but a lot of the times police would bring people in because you call and you say, oh, someone's on the street, for example, like talking to himself and
Mhm.
attacking cars or whatever. So you call the police. I think this guy needs some mental health.
Yeah.
So a lot of people would be admitted because the police would bring them in.
and
So when
while
the police brings them in, they wait, so they escort them in. So it's like,
oh, so it's same like a normal, like actually normal, like a any other type of hospital where they have to stay there until the person
until he
gets
gets until like a psychiatrist assesses them.
assessed.
Are they
Yeah,
going to stay? Are they going to go until
yeah,
or they're going to get sectioned? Blah blah blah. And then they do a handover basically, and then
yeah, yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
go. Yeah, but I think they stopped doing that now. Police doesn't respond to mental health calls anymore.
But I was wondering because one of the things that it sounds like so interesting is the fact that you were saying kind of like oh, I need to, again, higher education is important, which again it is.
Yeah,
It's something that it again, either for better or worse, matters a lot. And then you kind of go, oh, you know what, I'm going to do psychiatry.
yeah,
And then you kind of like, again, you get into it, and then you graduate and you're like, just whatever job I can get,
yeah.
I go for it. Like you said, very minimal research, because again, but then I guess when you studied, were you
It,
how much like, because my question is, when you study psychology, or when you're in your case,
mhm.
was it shown as in this thing where you're like, you're dressed in like a nice suit, you go to work, you just examine
A
stuff?
psychology degree uh, teaches you nothing about being a practicing psychologist.
No way.
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, I say that's how my course was. There's
Yeah, yeah,
different
yeah. Of
psychology
course.
courses,
Yeah.
obviously, depending on the modules you
Yeah.
pick, but psychology is such a broad thing. There is,
Yeah.
psychology, I don't think actually means anything specific because it's like you say, I'm a doctor. What
Yeah.
doctor are you? Are you a podiatrist? Are you a psychiatrist? Are
Yeah.
you a heart doctor? Are you a
Doctor.
surgeon?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with psychology. The psychology you do at university is very very broadly based around like an academic psychologist. So someone
Mm.
who then goes on to do a PhD and does research,
Yeah.
and then most people they end up studying in not most people who study psychology, but
Yeah.
the environment is it's like you get taught by academics and you
Yes.
get taught academic psychology.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of, yeah, I'm following.
So it's not so much about the practical aspects of
Yeah.
psychology. You never get to do practicals in on wards or with
No
therapists or
way.
anything like that. It's such a whole different thing. Yeah, yeah.
Well, so basically
And
this.
research, it's very it basically the degree is very sort of heavily revolved around the research that goes into psychology.
Yeah, yeah,
So you
got
learn
it,
to
got it.
read scientific manuscripts and to interpret the data
Ah.
and how they do experiments and blah, blah, blah. And obviously therapy and research and they can't go hand in hand, right?
Yes,
The
yes,
therapies
yes.
are informed
Yeah.
from the research and the theories and the and they kind of evolve together. But it's that side of psychology that you get with just a basic bachelor's in psychology. And then if you want to become a practitioner, there's a whole other you have to go and study in the NHS, not study, work in the NHS like I did. I'm talking about the UK right now, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you either do a master's or you have to do some there's a few courses out there that are practical courses where
Right.
you gain experience while you're working. And yeah, that's how you do it. It's a very long process to become like a practicing therapist,
Yeah.
or a counselor, or a
Man.
psychiatry is different because that you do medicine and then you do psychiatry, and that's a whole different thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas psychology is, yeah, it's
It's
so
like a
broad.
whole, yeah.
Yeah,
And this is why I was just curious about like how you kind of sign up for these things and you're not really sure what to
yeah,
expect,
yeah,
and then it almost like hits you in the face. And I was also thinking about how, because you were talking about getting this job when the pandemic was the lockdown, or were there
yeah.
still
There was
like
still
COVID like
lockdowns. Yeah, there was
restriction and
still
stuff.
COVID. Yeah,
So you had that on top of
yeah.
I was thinking about, yeah, like you had, oh, you stay 1 meter away while you have to.
In the hospital, oh,
You
you
didn't,
just
yeah.
yeah, you just go on with it.
That
You wear
was
your mask and you
that
pray
was
to
mad.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then well, again, from that you kind of like had found something else, and then you were also doing comedy. Has anything like this like influenced you? because you were talking about how the lockdown kind of
Mhm.
inspired you on, like, if you want to do something,
Mhm.
do it, because then
You never
you
know.
never know
Yeah,
what's going to
yeah.
happen. Is Are those experiences also something that's either it changed you as a comedian, as an like your artistic view, as
Mhm.
well as your views in, I guess, general?
I don't know if they changed my views as a comedian, but they definitely changed. For example, if you're working, like, especially my first year,
Yeah,
eh, with very severe cases of, like schizophrenia and, bipolar and all that stuff. Um, it's like you're aware of this other world that everyday people don't get to
yeah, yeah,
experience.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
then when you're talking to people, everyday people, and you're talking about the most, not mundane, but the most
yeah,
normal quote unquote things. Like, oh, what did you have for
yeah,
dinner? How was work? And you're like,
yeah,
oh yeah, Stacy is like Stacy from work. I kind of fancy her. And then you think about like, oh, what happened at my work? I saw a grown man like shit on the floor. Do you know what I mean? Like your world is so different to what every other person is going through. So
yeah,
sometimes it's good because it it helps you put things into perspective. You're like, you appreciate your life more. You're like,
yeah,
oh my god, some people are struggling so much out there.
yeah.
Sometimes it feels good because you're helping those people. You're like, I'm part of the,
A
of the,
change.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's just a bit miserable because it all gets to you. Your
yeah,
own mental health starts to go a bit like, oh my god, I'm around these things all the time, and yeah. So I wouldn't say it just changes you as a person. Yeah, you're always aware of all these other possibilities,
yeah,
all
yeah.
these other experiences that people are going through. And a lot of the times, if it's just too much of the negative stuff, it gets to you. You have to find ways to.
What did you do when you were like, what was it, something that you were doing to, like, I guess, either not allow it to get to you as much, or when it was getting to you, quote unquote, like,
Um,
what is it that you tried to, I guess, take your mind off it, or basically?
I mean, at the specific time in that year when I was seeing someone as well, so that helped
Nice.
because I had like a partner for a short while. But I'm a busy guy. I do a lot of things. I play music, so I was kind of in a band. We were jamming, play
No
music.
way, while
Yeah,
doing shifts and
yeah,
wow,
man.
man,
It's
how did you
just
get the time?
I have no idea. So I just, yeah, I guess you have to, I don't know, sacrifice some things for other things, Sunday or Saturday morning I don't know, instead of going out
Yeah, yeah,
or,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
going for coffee, you just go to the practice room or,
Wow.
you just
And
make time.
do you practice on your own?
I mean, if I'm going to learn some songs and if I'm going to practice techniques, I'll by myself.
Uh-huh.
But if I'm gonna have a jam or play with a band, we'll do a session together. Yeah,
Do you what do you mean, well, probably like a practice room? Is in, like, do you like rent?
yeah. You hire a room
Oh,
for, I don't know, 2-3 hours, and there's a drum
interesting.
because
Yeah, yeah,
obviously
drum kit
drums are
there.
very loud.
Yeah.
You can't have it at home.
Uh,
You can, but it's a hassle, especially in England as well. Everyone we're so
packed. Yeah.
yeah. So you go there, you pay. I don't know.
What drew you into drums? Like, why drums?
It's good because I think back to uh how different my life would have been if I just did what I want. So when I was really into heavy metal when I was a kid, my dad got me into it. I was obsessed with guitars, right?
No way.
And I always wanted to learn guitar. I would hold the drumsticks around the house and pretend they were guitars and put the music on and run around the house and pretend I was, I don't know, whatever. And yeah, I pretend to be on stage and there were all
Yeah,
these
yeah,
like
yeah.
heavy metal chicks under the stage and they were all like, oh, Nick, you're our god, all this like
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
So I always wanted to learn guitar and I brought it up and I should say in my household, like we're all kind of very musically. My sister used to sing. My dad used to play music.
No
Because my
way.
uncle, like my granddad sings. My dad's side of the family is very into all that stuff.
Interesting.
So my dad's cousin owned a music school, so things like that. So my sister used to go to that school, and she would do vocal lessons
Beautiful.
and
Nice.
guitar or whatever. And one day we were sitting for like family lunch or dinner, I can't remember. And I told them I want to go and learn guitar. And my sister was like, "Oh no, don't learn guitar because I play guitar. Why don't you do something else?" And I was like, "Oh well, I might as well just do the drums." And that's kind of it, really.
No way.
And then I did that for 20 years. So, yeah. And that, but I mean, it did grow on me a lot. And my drum teacher, uh, he's basically like my dad. We are very close.
Oh,
I've had him like he's been my well when I was back home. He was my teacher for like 15 years.
yeah.
He's yeah. So yeah, very big influence on my life.
How do you I guess like how do you protect yourself when you drum? Because I know like loads of people who play music.
Oh, like my ears.
Yeah.
Ah, I have tinnitus. It's bad. It's
Really? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You have to. Unfortunately, it's very manageable. It doesn't bother me throughout the day. It's only when it's very quiet or if I'm gonna sleep at night,
Okay.
my ears like ring.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But you have to, yeah. And I was just even before the drumming, I would just listen to music in my headphones, like
Yeah.
super high volume,
Yeah.
and the drumming as well. You have to, yeah. If you're a drummer, you have to protect your ears.
You know,
I wish I knew when I was younger.
when you obviously because like with you moving around and you're either here, you're either in Cyprus, then when you're here, you're either here, you're in Brighton. What was it like for you to keep playing music like throughout those times? Were you kind of
Yeah,
just started from scratch
it's
or
hard because it's on. I don't really do it as much now, and I really miss playing music regularly because I used to play with bands and play, like,
yeah,
in clubs and music venues. But yeah, you just have to find. You have to find people. I don't know wherever Facebook is good for that.
yeah,
You move to Brighton, you find all these music groups, all these like musician networking groups,
yeah,
and you just post. You're like, hey, I just moved here. I'm
yeah,
a drummer. I like this kind of music. Is anyone looking for a drummer or anyone wants to start a band? And in Brighton, actually, I had a band, and we used to play quite regularly, and
no
we even
way.
have a song on Spotify.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that going?
Well, with the band, kind of, we stopped
Yeah, we
because of COVID. All the guys, they all moved back to their they were all
homes.
English, so one of them moved back to his house with his parents. Someone moved back to Wales and get married. Sorry, I said they were all English. One of them was Welsh, but he went
Yeah,
back to Wales. He got married, so we all just scattered
split.
around. So the
Yeah,
band kind of, but it was fun. It was good. We were the Peeps, and you can find the song on Spotify. It's
Peeps
called Lighter Later. The Peeps.
lighter later.
Yeah, it's the one song we recorded. Yeah, but it was very fun. Yeah, and then the same thing. When I moved to London again, Facebook. Hey guys, I play heavy metal. I'm looking for a drummer. I'm a drummer. Sorry. Yeah.
But when you, this is so bizarre. Like, yeah, I guess it is bizarre. Like, so strange about the like, honestly, like heavy metal from someone from either because I think in I
I
again
should say though, a lot of the bands I played in weren't heavy metal.
ah
Yeah.
okay, but then and also when you studied in Cyprus,
Mm.
you weren't doing heavy metal. You were
No.
right.
But you can once you learn to play the
Yeah,
when
of
you
course.
learn stuff, you know how to. If you like heavy metal, you listen to it and you figure out what they're doing, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you can't teach yourself.
But I was just curious about how you like because you said your dad as well was a heavy metal fan. I think like
Mm.
what one of the things that's like most like very interesting to me is the fact that you like to get to actually like again to like heavy metal because
Mm.
especially from such an early age because I remember
Yeah,
like I had a period where I think like emo like punk
yeah,
rock was a thing for me growing up. I love I think I love Black Sabbath but I don't know
yeah.
I think if someone doesn't then that's a problem but I wouldn't call myself like a
Heavy metal
again
fan.
heavy yeah
Yeah, yeah,
so that but that, again I feel like they are just a staple period
yeah, yeah,
but then yeah it's just so interesting to think about like you getting into it from like such an early
yeah.
age
9 years old, I discovered
it's
Iron Maiden
mad
at 9, and it changed my life.
because also I'm really sorry about this but I don't Maiden English
They are, yes, yeah.
from
From London. Well, I think Bruce Dickinson might be from somewhere else, but the band was formed in East Ham. Um, Steve Harris, East Ham, huge East Ham, West Ham. Oh my God, I got this wrong. West Ham. Sorry, don't be angry at me. West Ham. I guess East Ham and West Ham are in East London. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
so a very East London band. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Crazy about Iron Maiden. I've got tattoos.
I know. Yeah, that's why I did notice that the Iron Maiden.
Not that that means anything, but yeah, I'm a bit of a fanboy.
Did you get the tattoos in? Did you get the tattoos in Cyprus or in England?
I got this one's in Brighton actually.
No.
This one, yeah, it's hand poked as well.
Shut up!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the rest in Cyprus. Yeah.
What was it? What's your I guess also like tattoo wise?
Just to say, I have 4 tattoos. I'm not
I know,
covered
yeah.
in tattoos. You have people listening might be thinking, oh, you probably loaded.
You load, yeah, with tattoos.
No, yeah, just 4.
4. Well, I guess like when you, I guess even when you're in Cyprus, like what is it like very liberal about it or? Especially, I guess, because you said your family, like, especially from your dad's side, being musicians or being around like art and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's well, I say they're musicians, but not professionally. You know? Yeah, just
Fans.
yeah.
At least like.
It's weird, you know. I can't really explain what it's like because Cyprus is. It can be super liberal and super conservative at the same time, depending on the thing. When I was growing up, it wasn't. I don't. It's strange. So. The change happened so quickly, you know. My grandparents' generation, they were all like, they lived under the occupation and they lived under the colonization, and they were all very like the church and society was very conservative, you know. And then overnight, but like 2 generations, it's just very different now. Like my generation, everyone's so westernized, and you know there isn't that, you know, I don't know. No one's like. Pious and
yeah.
You know, you must go to church. It's changed overnight, but obviously some things don't change that quickly, you know. So I don't know. It depends, you know.
But also Limassol, was it like compared to I guess other cities or like other parts of Cyprus? What's it like? What's the vibe?
Limassol's like best, man.
Really?
It's lovely. Listen, I mean, this is the thing. So it went from Cyprus went from this very, you know, like a rural sort of place where no one really worked. They were all in their villages and they lived off their land, you know, and stuff like that. And then in the 80s, we had this like tourist boom. There was disco, and there was like, you know, you had these like hubs in Ayanapa and Limassol, where it was all the tourists, you know, all the like all the English people and the Scandinavian people would come, and it was just like I said, over one generation, it just changed completely. But Limassol now is very, very, very modern. We have a lot of like, because low taxes attracts like foreign companies to come and set up shop, and it's very
Did you like
a lot of money laundering as well?
Fair enough. Who's to judge? I'm still. Don't worry. I was going to say something about.
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, but actually, I think you did, because I was just curious about like. I think as an outsider, knowing of Limassol, I kind of knew that it was like, again, it's like a tourist city, and it's very. It sounds like a good, like I guess like a good nightlife sort of vibe.
Kind of
things.
It changed a little bit when I was sort of. I can't remember. Maybe when I was a bit younger, 14 to 17 or whatever. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. When I was of those ages, it was still very kind of that tourism of. Like, you know, I don't know, a lot of British people come over, and it was like the nightlife and blah, blah, blah. But all that kind of went away now. The tourism in Limassol now is a little bit more high end. You have a lot of like, it's become very expensive. You have a lot of like Russian people coming. There's a lot of Russian people who live there as well. But it's not that crazy party scene that it used to be. Like, for example, some Greek islands and stuff. That's more like Ayanapa. You go to Ayanapa, it's like party town. You know, a lot of Brits, a lot of like these cheap,
Like
shitty drinks,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah. Limassol became a little bit, yeah, a little bit more quiet. I don't
And
know.
then because obviously, yeah, I don't know. It just sounds amazing, man. I feel like this not amazing, but it's just interesting to watch. Like you were saying, the transition from
Yeah,
like when
yeah.
because I also see it to certain extents or like certain respects in Romania, where although I come from a very northern city, very close to Ukraine, and
Mm.
then you also have it's very conservative in the respects that you have either like a huge like Christian community,
Mm-hmm.
but then there is now, although it's also Christian, but you have Orthodox Christian, and then you have the like the Protestant Christian
Yeah.
community, and they, again, like that's the thing, you're either one or the other,
Mm-hmm.
and they are both just kind of, again, you're brought up into this.
Yeah.
But then I also notice with like say like my nephew and niece, there are like glimpses of like liberal
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just crazy because like I'm only talking about like 10 years, like I'm not
Yeah.
talking about,
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know, like, oh yeah, well, my granddad didn't have to live with, no, I didn't live with that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
to me it was very clear, like this is it. When you go to school, even things like you go to school, you have to wear a uniform. I remember it was hot as fuck, and
Yeah.
they'd be like, you have to wear a uniform. And then now it's kind of like, yeah,
But
casual
whatever you
Fridays. I'm
want.
like, fuck
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
off.
The gravest example of that, I always think about my granddad because he grew up in a house with no running water, right? No electricity.
Yeah.
Like he would tell me his neighbors in the village, they would sleep with like their animals so they could warm up,
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Not
Yeah.
sleep like,
No, I get. Yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
I heard
They
similar.
would they would all like cuddle with the sheep to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to warm up in the winters and stuff. And now my granddad has Facebook. It's insane. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how do you go from no
Yeah.
electricity to like even a car or just it's just the level of change, the
Oh,
degree of modernity in one lifetime is just insane.
I think about I happened to think about recently because one of my friends growing up, when we were kids, we had in my grandparents' house,
Hmm.
we had the toilet in the garden.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And the thing is, in one summer, this kid that we were friends with, he sat on the toilet, but then the toilet like broke,
uh,
so he got stuck in the
yeah.
like in the toilet. And I remember him like again crying for help.
Mhm.
We having to like pull him out. He was like stinking of shit, having to like hose him down and all this.
Yeah,
And
poor guy.
and then the guy now is a cyber analyst.
There you go.
And this is the thing, like we were, and again, look, the thing is, at home, I had just to for, I lived in a city,
Yeah.
we had the normal toilet, but I was saying like with my grandparents, so like where you spend your summer holidays, this is how we spent our summer
Yeah,
holidays.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then now the same guy is obviously 20 years older,
Yeah.
and he's a
Yeah.
cyber analyst for like
There
this
you go.
huge company. Because that's why I think we came, because we had a bit of a chat recently, and I just remembered of that thing, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you go regularly to Romania?
I yeah, I think maybe I try to do it at least once a year.
Uh-huh.
I think since because of my parents not being around, I don't go as much.
Mhm.
But now, yeah, I try maybe like once a year. I got to the point where I think it's a little bit different from your experience in the respect of like I went from being very proud and growing up like, oh yeah, I'm Romanian, I love
Yeah.
Romania,
Yeah. Yeah.
to then being like, I don't like Romania at all. I don't
Yeah.
want anything to do with it. So
Yeah.
I had these years for a while, and now I'm at the point where although I don't like some things about
Yeah.
Romania, I love Romania.
For me, it's the other way around.
Really?
I grew up like, I don't like Cyprus. Everyone's closed-minded here. Everyone's backward, blah blah blah. And now it's because I'm away. I'm like, oh, my home. I miss you.
Well, this is the thing as well. Like my biggest problem
Yeah.
with Romania was that when I came to UK, and I was like, the closed-mindedness
Yeah,
of this, but I
yeah,
was like, oh, it was fucked up, and
yeah,
I kind of, I had this period of time where I blamed like everything around
yeah,
me.
yeah. I guess when you're younger, you don't understand as well. Yeah,
Yeah, well, again, to an extent, obviously, it was those experiences that
yeah.
got me to the places
Mm.
but then again, in the bright side, also, those experiences got me where I am today.
Yeah,
So you have to look at it on
both
the
ways.
both sides, and also that's the thing. Realistically, I love Romania, and
Yeah,
I think this is the thing now where I got through these periods of time. Every time I go back, I love it. Like
yeah.
I make sure because I kind of I also know why I cut ties with some of my friends because I'm like, obviously they will say some like random
Yeah.
shit and you're like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
agree with this.
Yeah.
But then in the other hand, I feel like I only have a week. I gotta make the
Yeah.
most of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm just gonna go and have the nicest food. I'm gonna visit the nicest places, see the people that I care about, and then I know that that's it.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'm like, oh, I miss Romania.
Yeah, yeah. I have a friend who's half Romanian from Cyprus.
No way.
Yeah, I heard it's very nice.
What is
Yeah.
in? Do you know where he's from?
Uh,
It's okay. No, don't worry.
from the big
Oh,
one.
Bucharest.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
It was funny that you were talking about like the money laundering in yeah, the one big city.
yeah. You guys have cities, don't you? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you were talking about the money laundering because I know like actually yeah, loads of Romanian like rich people
Yeah.
they also do apparently like money laundering through although again look I'm not judging because if I were to have money I would probably launder it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm not judging at all. I think you gotta grind.
I
Any
mean, sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say anyone from an off license owner to Jeffrey Bezos.
Yeah,
You
man.
gotta do what you
Everyone
gotta
does it
do.
somehow. I
Yeah.
guess. The problem with Limassol is that it, so what we started to do in the crisis, what the government started to do, they started to sell passports.
Shut
Well,
up.
no, not I don't think that was illegal. I think Ireland does it as well. It's called a golden visa. So basically, if you invest, say, 1 million, I don't know the exact.
Oh yes,
If you buy a property of 1 million
Yeah.
euros, for example,
Yeah.
we will give you a Cypriot passport, right?
Passport, yeah.
So a lot of like Russian people who have a lot
Yeah.
of money
Yeah.
and they want a European passport, European
Yeah.
access, what they do, I'll go and buy
A
a
property.
property in Cyprus. The problem is the developers and the government or whatever, all these people, they caught on and they're like, oh, we need to build luxury apartments to cater for this market, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is out of nowhere on the seafront, all these high tech Dubai style, you know,
Mad.
high rise,
Yeah.
fucking apartment buildings are getting built for people who will never live in them. And that drives the prices up of the market, right?
Yeah.
Because there's more demand than supply. And then local people can't afford those places.
Of course, yeah.
So, like, a lot of young people feel disenfranchised.
Yeah.
They have to move out of their city,
Yeah, yeah.
so other people can come in and buy them. And people who aren't even going to live there because they
Yeah.
just want their passport. And we kind of, yeah.
I thought about this thing in my hometown where we had sorry, actually I'm in Bucharest because I only had one auntie that lived in Bucharest,
Mhm.
and I remember she lived obviously like in the suburbs of Bucharest, and literally we were living in like an ex-Soviet like
Mhm.
flat build like block
Yeah.
apartment block, and then you look outside on the balcony and there literally 2 streets after there is a house with again a toilet in the garden
Yeah.
in the same city in the same place. So then I kind of I that was a similar thing where I was thinking now where like you said you have all like these like high tall
Yeah.
buildings
Yeah.
whatever, and then everything else is the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy, but again I guess it's just the way things are sometimes. What I can't remember. I was going to ask you something and I forgot. But you know what? It's fine because we've recorded for a while.
Okay.
Uh, if it might come back to me, but if it doesn't, Nick, where do people find you?
Aha.
Are you active on social media?
I'm not as active as I should be. Well, the excuse I always use is my Instagram is still, I have it locked.
No.
You can follow me, but I have it locked because I used to work in the NHS and, I didn't want people to find my
Oh,
because
okay, okay, okay.
I mean, for example, if you're looking after people and
Yeah, yeah, of course.
you
Yeah,
know, and then they go online and they find your Instagram and you're
yeah,
talking about your dick or whatever.
yeah,
You know, you're like, oh, you know, or you make some joke that is a bit,
yeah.
you know,
Like, yeah, something weird
it's not
happened at
very
work today.
politically correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then, you know, so you have to be careful with that. So yeah, I didn't have it public for that reason. So I'm gonna try and be more engaging. But I am on Instagram. It's Nik K Comedy One, Nick without the C. So Nikk Comedy
I was gonna say
One.
Nike.
Yeah. So that's basically it, really. But yeah,
Perfect. Well, you know what? It was such a pleasure catching up,
thank you.
and
Had a great time.
good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this. Bye.
Bye. Oh, that's it. Oh, bye, everybody.
Hey, so I hope you enjoyed listening to this. Now I'm gonna leave you. Uh, yeah, I'm just gonna, I guess, free you from listening to my voice any longer, and we'll talk again next week. Um, check out my, yeah, check out the bio of this episode to see Nick's social media handle, and yeah, obviously, check out my social media just to stay like up to date with anything that's happening throughout the week. But otherwise, you'll hear again from me on next Monday. And yeah, I guess from me, Pickle and Sarma, goodbye for now, and stay skillful. Bye bye.